everyone. We've got one person live, so there is someone out there. Today, I was going to say tonight, but today we are going to talk about the pageant industry. Now, the pageant industry is quite a new thing for me. I'd never kind of had any exposure to it at all until I took part in a pageant Miss earlier on this year, and actually it sort of changed my perspective of beauty pageants and what they actually mean. So we've got two guests with us today, so we'll ask them to introduce themselves. So Emily, if you'd like to go first and then followed by Hollie, we'll just introduce yourself and then we'll go into the chat. Is that okay?
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Emily Blake. I live in Norfolk and I'm currently Miss International Curve 2017/18.
Perfect. You do lots more than that as well, Emily, don't you? You're a busy girl.
Yeah. Yeah, I do plus size modelling, singing, presenting, a bit of coaching, supply teaching and workshops as well.
Hollie?
Hi, I am Hollie. I'm Queen Miss United Kingdom 2017 and Miss European Continental England 2017 too.
Awesome. See, and I'm just like small town with I then said my little baby crown, which I'm not going to keep on because Emily's is a lot bigger than mine. So you both how did you both get into the beauty pageant world? I suppose I want to know, because mine was obviously very much by accident in terms of Hollie, who we've got here. Thank you, Hollie, for introducing me to the world of pageants. But I'd never considered being involved in anything like that until Hollie put on there that she was looking for all ages to be involved in this, and my daughter, who's 5, really wanted to be involved. So I said I'll go and support her, but actually not realising how empowering the whole experience would be for myself, really. So I would have never got involved, if it weren't for my daughter. So I kind of came into it by accident. But Emily, how did you kind of get into the whole pageant side of things, and then modelling and singing, and from there, really?
So I looked online. I was looking for something to get involved with where I could make new friends and get more confident again, because I kind of lost that part of me after losing my grandma, and I was just so down, and I was literally just looking for opportunities where I could go and have some fun and get back out there again. And Miss Universe Norfolk came up on a website called Star Now, which is where they have castings and auditions. And it literally had a list of all the different things you'd do on the day. And it was like, make new friends, build your confidence, and all the things that I needed. So I thought, this feels right, let me go for it. And we had this big day where we met everyone, and it was like a selection day basically, with lots of activities together, and I felt so much better after just one day of being surrounded by positive people. And we did things like board breaking, where you have to like punch through a wooden board, so that was really sort of motivational, and I just loved it, and I felt my confidence grow. Got selected, got to the final. Months later, I'm on stage, enjoying it and feeling a bit more like me again. So I went from that pageant to Miss British Beauty Curve, which is the first pageant that I won back in 2014, and I loved it so much. And part of the prize was to present the pageant the following year. And to be honest, when I saw that sort of listed as a prize, and I was like, right, I want to win, because presenting has always been the main thing for me. And when I did my first pageant, I kept watching the presenter like, yeah, I want to do that. So that's why I kind of that's what I had my eye on when I entered that pageant, and I won it, and now I present it every year. Singing is something I've always done, and only just last sort of summertime I started doing that professionally as well. So it's really nice to be able to do your hobbies and get paid for them, and you just get to do what you love, which is awesome.
And I suppose when you first started looking for these things online of building your confidence and that kind of thing, did you expect to come across the pageant world almost in that respect? Because I think from me listening to you, that sounds exactly right from my experience, obviously. But from the offset, I actually thought, oh no, I'm not the typical pageant person. I don't look a certain way, and that almost put me off being involved. So, I suppose you don't expect to stumble, those words about confidence and being empowered and needing, to be lifted up. I suppose people don't associate with the industry, do they?
No. And yeah, a bit like yourself, I never saw myself in that way either. I never would have imagined I'd be doing a beauty pageant. And I still almost kind of cringe when I have to say the word beauty queen, because to me that just sounds like, it's it's pretentious in a way. So I normally say like beauty pageant holder, like title holder or something like that. But I never expected to ever do anything like that. Didn't expect to be modelling. I've always been overweight, always been kind of bullied for it in school and things. But honestly, when I came across that first pageant, I wasn't really thinking about the pageant side. It was the benefits of doing it, that list of all those things that I needed and was looking for, and I just thought, well, this sounds fun, something new, something different. Let's give it a go.
And look at you now, you've done amazingly, so congratulations, because you're awesome. Hollie, how about you? How did you get into the beauty pageant world?
Pretty much the same way that you did. I started, basically I did Miss Norfolk because Poppy was doing the pageant and I felt bad putting her into a pageant, and I thought I should be supportive and I should do it alongside her. So I did, and together we raised just over 1,500 for brain tumour research. And then when it came to the pageant day, I didn't win a title, I didn't win Miss Norfolk, but I did win the charitable effort for the amount that we'd raised, which then gave me a place in Miss United Kingdom. So then I went there thinking, what is the point of this? Because I was going up against the girls that had won titles and I was just the charity girl. And then I won Queen Miss United Kingdom, which then gave me a place in Miss European Continental in Italy. So I went over to there and represented England. So I sort of fell into it hard.
It just natural progression then, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just like one thing after another, yeah.
And I suppose going back to what Emily said about that you'd always been overweight, and did you think that would hold you back, Emily, in terms of when you first went into that world? Did you worry about weight and what your body looked like, or did that really not play a part into it?
Honestly, no. I think I was feeling really confident at the time, because luckily with that pageant we had regular meetups. We were all doing practicing our catwalks together, so it was a whole sort of big bonding experience, and all the girls were so lovely, and I probably was the biggest girl in the group, but I never felt excluded or an outsider. I felt completely part of it and welcome. And it never crossed my mind. It never ever crossed my mind, and it never really had before. It was only when other people kind of start inputting and making you feel bad about yourself. But me personally, I've always just got on with loving life and not really thinking about that, if you know what I mean.
And I think support is a massive thing. So I think from an outsider's perspective, when I didn't have a clue what was going on, and I didn't know what even happened at a pageant, to be perfectly honest, I had no clue. As an outsider, my thoughts were always you know, there'll be all these thick, thin people who are really stunningly pretty. I would be, you know, the really fat, ugly one next to them, and kind of, it's amazing how, you know, that view is so, whether it's from like American TV, you know, films and stuff like that, which makes you have that sort of skewed view. But now, you know, I've made some really good friends through actually being a part of something with these women, and actually seeing that, you know, we all have flaws, we all have imperfections, but we're all pretty awesome in our own right. And I think the support that you actually get when you're included. So I suppose from my point of view, for anyone who's thinking, oh, I'd love to be part of something like that, but actually, oh, I won't fit in, or just go for it and kind of, you know, see where it takes you, really. Because you're all about that, I suppose, Hollie.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree 100% to go for it. When I went to Miss European Continental in Italy, that was the scariest thing I could possibly have done. There were 40 girls that were all at least 5'7" tall, were all a size 6, they were all really tiny, and I was the only person who was married and had a baby. So there I was, standing in my gold lycra swimwear that was stuck to my body against all these size 6 girls, as a mum and a married woman. And it was a strange feeling, but it was also really nice to know that I was sort of doing it for the normal woman, as opposed to the stick thin model that everybody expects to see on that stage. I was doing it for everybody else. And it's just proof that anyone can do it, because if I managed to get up there and stand there and I got to that point, then why can't anybody else? Because in their rules it states that you have to be unmarried and that you have to be 28 and under. I'm 29, definitely married, definitely have a child. So it's just proof that anyone can do it if they want to.
And I think that's the thing, there's so much in the industry. I've noticed so much more, whether I've just noticed because my sort of doors have been open to that world, and so I've been more receptive when I've seen things. But, you know, I shared posts on the group of, you know, pageants which were to do with disabilities and things like that, you know, and there's a lot of like ones that you know, don't discriminate on age, so it can be like all ages. You know, but is that a new thing? Is it, you know, is it something over the last few years it's been more inclusive, or is that just my perception of it?
Pageants have always had like a Miss Classic like category, but I'm not sure. I think they're now becoming a lot more aware that it doesn't really matter how old you are, because it's still possible for anybody. And I think it's a lot of that is to do with social media. So I think it is changing a lot.
What about you, Emily? Have you noticed any changes since you started?
Yeah, I think they are changing, probably becoming more inclusive, and because they are sort of growing in the UK, I think lots more people are actually seeing them and seeing different types of women in different shapes and sizes represented, which is making more people get involved and get, you know, and join in. I absolutely loved the video the other day. It might have been you who posted it, Serena, of the wheelchair pageant.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, but can't girls in wheelchairs just do other pageants? Well, yes, they can, but it doesn't see, you know, you wouldn't necessarily feel like you'd be able to, because you don't see girls in wheelchairs in your normal, I don't want to say the word normal, but in your sort of mainstream pageants. But the more that people join in, the more people but at the moment, I think people are more likely to join. The pageant that I won is purely for plus size girls. And again, plus size girls can enter mainstream pageants, but you kind of start off with your own one. So it's like your own community where you definitely feel welcome. And then your eyes start opening and you go, oh, okay, maybe I can actually enter Miss Universe and win that as not a size 4 or 6. But yeah, it's definitely moving towards that.
I think it's interesting as well because I notice, Emily, you refer to yourself as a plus size model, but I think, you know, from looking at you, in my eyes, I don't see you as a plus size model. In my eyes, I don't even see myself as a plus size model, but I'm not a model, but I don't see myself plus size. But I think maybe it's also got to change in that respect because, if you've got a beautiful group of girls who are not, a little bit larger than what media says normal is, then calling them plus size surely isn't good for younger girls who are thinking of going into the pageant world and the beauty industry and modelling and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your own personal view and mindset about the word plus size, because for me, it doesn't mean anything negative whatsoever. And so I wouldn't say it would have a negative impact on younger girls. If you look at a lot of plus size models, they actually start from a size 12 upwards, and a lot of them are very healthy, they're working out, and they can be positive role models. But everyone's got their own idea of where plus size starts. For me, I know from the modelling industry where it actually starts factually, but lots of people, like you say, when you look at me, wouldn't regard me as that. But actually, as a size 16, I am sort of well in the margins, if you know what I mean. To some people, it starts at a size 20, but it's all just personal perspective, really. That's a huge debate, and it's something I'm often asked to talk about because it is such a big topic. But as long as you're a positive role model, I don't think it should matter.
Well, I went and watched Embrace. I don't know if you've seen Embrace from, is it Tanya? No, what's her name? Oh God, brain. But basically, this lady who went around the world speaking to women about their bodies and what they didn't like about their bodies. And I mean, it was the figures she was coming across for how many people hated their bodies and the way they look or wanted to have surgery or. Like, I think it's crazy. And I don't know, Hollie, is that something you see in like the pageant world? Are there a lot of people, or are they generally happy with their bodies?
I don't think that anybody is ever 100% happy, and I think the problem is again, it's the perception of the perfect person and the perfect woman, and you'll get people that will look at me and say, oh, she's a size 8, so she's this skinny girl. And just because I'm skinny, I don't try to be skinny. I eat a lot. But I know, like, when I was younger, I had so many problems with my weight, and I would have loved to have been a curvy size 10 because curvy is sexy. Skinny's not sexy in the perfect woman. So there's so many different ends of the scale, and everybody's at a different point. And I think at the end of the day, everybody should just respect that we are all different and we are all women and we are all beautiful in our own way, and stop judging each other all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's what this film is very Emily's putting her thumbs up. She's really. I want her actually, because we've heard a lot from Poppy in the background. Can we get Poppy on?
She won't stop. And it's just sad that the grandparents are sitting there winding her up in the background. Yeah. Caravan, so I have nowhere to hide.
Well, I think we need her perspective really, because she is a beauty queen in her own right. So
she's got a giant bowl of popcorn.
Okay. Hello, Poppy.
Say hi.
She's got popcorn.
Go get your popcorn. Show them how much popcorn you're eating. Hang on. Who says beauty queens can't faces?
You're never gonna eat all that. Yeah, can I have some? Can me and Emily have some?
She's currently sitting there, and every time my mum or dad go to take one out of the bowl, she's slapping their hands, and that's why there's so much noise in the background.
So actually, I want to just talk about children for a minute, actually, because I do think it's really important. Obviously, we started doing, being involved in the industry because of our children. But what is your perspective on how, Poppy as an example, what it's actually done for her confidence? Because I know she is a very confident young lady.
Yeah.
And obviously Ella was very shy until she did the pageants and she did ballet shows and things. So what have you noticed that's kind of changed her being in that world?
She is super, super confident now. So if like the day that we set up the pageant and we put the catwalk out, she was the first person on the catwalk. She was the first person walking up and down, strutting her stuff. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's a great thing. People have this perception of a child in a pageant is spray tanned with hair extensions and loads of makeup, and that's not what it's about. It's really not. For us, when we first started, it was an opportunity to build her confidence, an opportunity to get some really cute photos of her in some nice dresses that you wouldn't just wear on an everyday basis when you're doing your shopping in Tesco's. And it went from there, and now she's uber confident. She's made loads of little friends that all do the same thing. It's not about this big hair and fakeness. It's about making friends and like building opportunities and building her future, because these pictures are something that we're going to get to keep forever. They're going to be memories.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same. When I first put Ella, into your pageant, the Miss Norfolk, I had a lot of negativity from people. I obviously said, oh, I'm gonna, this is what I'm gonna do. I think it'll be really good for like her confidence and stuff like that. And I did get met with quite a lot of criticism of, how can you subject her? She'll then have like, body image hang-ups and different things like that. And I was quite shocked actually at how negative people were about it until they then actually saw the outcome, and they actually understood what it was all about. I was hit with sort of massive negativity.
Yeah, that's the thing. The negative comes from people that have never seen, don't really know, and they see what they want to say. They see what's been put online, or they see what's on a TV, and they assume that it's real life. They don't see that actually in the Miss Norfolk pageant. It was brilliant, and my favourite moment is still when Amy walked down to the end of the catwalk in her swimwear after losing 12 stone and just raised her arm in the air and everyone cheered. Like, it was amazing. It was perfect, and it just showed exactly what we were standing for, and it proved that you can do it and everyone's beautiful. And at the end of the day, that's now what I am teaching my little girl.
Emily, in terms of, because did you say you're a supply teacher?
Yeah.
So would you do, just thinking from that perspective then, does anyone sort of within the school community or the parents or anything know, your alter ego as a beauty queen? Do they know that? And what are the sort of reactions that you get to it?
So I never really mention it. It's only when you get those sneaky students who decide to try and Google me and find out my first name, and then I'll have them coming up to me in the corridor and saying things like, "Oh, Miss, I saw something about you online," or "You won a pageant, didn't you?" And because it's local that I do it, there are a few children that know. And like a friend of mine who knows about me, and they've found out that way, and then that's how it gets around. But I kind of keep that to myself, not that I'm sort of hiding it, but just because you have to be quite careful about with safeguarding, and there's lots of red tape in schools, but they do find out sometimes.
And would you, just thinking outside the box and just thinking if there was, because I suppose when I first was involved in the pageant, I've got some people on Facebook which are, the school mums, and then word gets around the school and it's kind of like, oh, you should wear your crown, but obviously if a mum was to come up to you and sort of say, oh, I know that you do this, putting my daughter into something or whatever, what would be your response? I suppose it's difficult with working in a school. You have to be quite strategic with things.
Yeah.
But would it be a positive thing? Do you kind of encourage? girls to, girls in your school to do that, or?
Yeah, like I've had a few girls who were kind of a similar size to me when I was at school talk to me about it and say, they'd love to get involved in things, and I'm quite happy to give them advice. Like you say, you do have to be quite careful with it, but all I can do is talk about my experience, and then if they want to talk to their parents about it or find out more, then it's up to them. So I tend to go from just talking about exactly what I've done rather than saying, oh, you should go and do this and you should do that, because then it can get a little tricky. But as I'm just supply, I'm just literally popping in and out. It's not the same as if I was sort of full-time within the school.
I think though that's really important, because obviously you're in a position whereby you know, in a school you're very, you are a role model to these girls, and obviously if they have had negative experiences with their body image or their confidence and stuff like that, I suppose it's nice that you can be that role model and share your experiences that way, really, and kind of empower them to sort of be confident and not have these hang-ups about their body and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And people are still being bullied just like it was when I was in school, and you'll hear the word fat being thrown around, and I try and, where I can, sprinkle in these little bits of positivity and motivation, and actually try and take what's painful about being called that away. I'll come up with things like, yeah, I'm fat and I'm fabulous, so what? Like, I won a crown being so-called fat. It's just a descriptive word, and trying to get them to change their mindset around it to kind of protect themselves as well is something that I've done. I don't sort of go in with a motivation to do anything like that, unless I'm doing my actual motivational or confidence workshops. When I'm just teaching, it's a bit different. But if there's ever a chance to sprinkle a little bit of wisdom and positivity, then I will.
That's brilliant. Because I think, what ages are they that you teach?
So from age 11 up to 16.
Wow, so that's a real sort of influential age as well, kind of what they, especially with
It's
social
all
media.
about them at the moment.
Pardon?
It's all about looks, appearance at the moment for them.
Yeah.
So.
I think, when I'm 30 now, and I know Hollie's a similar age, and we're all sort of, it's kind of, we didn't have as much pressure with social media and that kind of thing when we were, teenagers. And I think now it's just, I sometimes, hear girls, the way they, slate their own bodies and slate other girls. It's just absolutely just breaks my heart, really. So I suppose it's about getting to them at like that sort of age where they really are impressionable, and making sure that they change their perceptions of what normal and is what it is to be. Everyone's different, aren't they? That's the thing. Yeah, what do you think, Hollie? Do you see that, because you do obviously your cheer and stuff like that? Do you see that when with the kids?
Cheerleading again is very, very similar to beauty pageants, and it's another one of those things that people have a vision in their head of what it is like, and what it's actually like is very, very different. With the one thing that frustrates me is people putting others down, and I always try to say to everybody, because I teach beauty as well, and I say to all my colleagues and all of the students, putting somebody else down doesn't make you any better. Putting somebody else's light out doesn't make your shine any brighter, doesn't make you a better person. So there's no need for it. Unfortunately, it's the way that we live in now, and it's about now teaching, like I like to think, how to be positive. And by doing these patents and putting her in this industry, some people might not like it, but we raise a lot of money for charity. She's got uber confidence, and at the moment I haven't had any negatives from it for her. So I like to think that it's all a positive. I don't think that she's going to have with body confidence and things like that, because I've run a pageant that is for everybody. So I'm just showing her for her future that everyone's beautiful. That's, I think, well, I hope that's what I'm going to get across to her. So I'm just starting.
And I do think, you know, with them being so young, they're going to grow up with social media and the media and all of that, you know, with the you know, skinny girls on front covers of magazines. They're going to grow up with all that anyway. So you know, you involving her in the pageant world is actually not going to be a catalyst for, you know, teaching her, you know, about worrying about her body image, because she's going to be subject to all of that online and whatnot anyway, isn't she? So I suppose, yeah. I mean, I always think, because Ella does ballet and tap dancing, and you know, she's been involved in like your pageant, and I'll put her in your other one in September and whatnot. And you know, I actually think by having those sort of things as a focus for like young girls and growing up as teenagers, like if they've got some sort of hobby and some sort of focus, they're less likely to get into trouble and less likely to, you know, obviously, but if they've got like a focus and it's about, you know, being strong and confident and, you know, moving your body and eating well and stuff like that, rather than actually what they look like, then that will help them in the end, I suppose. That's my theory anyway.
Yeah, no,
It's all going on there. So
discussing chips over here.
Sorry?
They're discussing sausage and chips over here.
Well,
we definitely
subject. Don't, because I haven't had my tea yet. So it's really I want to go back, and now we're actually talking about sort of food, as you do. And because obviously when I was younger, I developed an eating disorder, and that sort of thing must happen in the beauty in, you know, pageant industry as a whole. I don't know. I'm just presuming, again, from an outside. I haven't been massively. I'm lucky I've been involved in a pageant which has been very inclusive. But Emily, is there that sort of thing about, or not so much? Is it just a huge thing?
To be honest, I haven't experienced any of that firsthand with the pageants that I've been involved in. No, for me, I haven't really experienced it. I'm sure it goes on everywhere. But for me, I wouldn't have the experience.
I've experienced it. I've experienced negative pageants, and mine was Miss Europe Continental, and it was everything that you read in a magazine and everything that you think of a beauty pageant was that pageant. So we'd work. I took my mum with me, and I took my husband with me, and we were expected to start at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we would be working all day, modelling all day, walking around Italy all day, rehearsing, and it would go on until 2 o'clock in the morning, and then they'd want to call us in for a meeting at 2 o'clock, and that would be an hour. Then they expected you to go back to your room and wash and blow the hair, and then you'd be expected to start again at 6. And in this whole time, all they gave us to eat was a bread roll and a tiny Matsuma and a bottle of fizzy water, so bloated you out so that you wouldn't be hungry for the rest of the day.
Wow. That's mad.
It was it was the worst experience. So my mum just said, don't forget the toilet. We weren't allowed to go to the toilet, so you'd have to ask permission to go to the toilet. Most of the time they'd say no. If they did say yes, they'd walk you to the toilet and stand outside the toilet. The whole thing was horrible. The whole thing was really bad experience.
Is that generally a reflection of like pageants abroad then? I don't know.
That is European international modelling competitions. They put it down as a pageant, and it wasn't a pageant. There was no glitzy dresses. There was no like beautiful. There was a crown. There was one crown at the end, but there was no charity element. There was no interview. It was a fashion show. It was live on TV. It wasn't what we thought we were going to go for. What we were told we were doing and what we did were two different things. So when we arrived,
I think that's hit the nail on the head, isn't it? It's about, I suppose, it's about people watching, saying to them that there is a difference between the pageant world and what pageants are to what modelling competitions are. Then
exactly.
so make sure you look out for the pageants, and they're the ones that are going to empower you and make you feel good about yourself and make friends, and not actual modelling competitions for stick people.
It's doing your research. It's doing your research and understanding what you're going in, what you're letting yourself in for. And unfortunately, I was very naive to what I was actually doing, because it was the first time I'd gone to an international pageant. So I assumed it was going to be like the other ones I'd done, and it wasn't. It was very, very, very different. And I didn't sleep. I think I had an hour's sleep every night, and we were there for a week. I was so tired. I was so ill when I got home. My skin was bad. Everything was bad. The girls were so tired. Everyone was crying. Yeah, it was just, they crammed it all in because they didn't want to pay for the extra hotel rooms, for the extra nights and things like that. You weren't allowed to use your phone, so they knew that I had a baby. They wouldn't let me use my phone. I couldn't call to see if she was okay. They were snatching girls' phones off them if they saw them using them. They would tell you that you weren't allowed to eat and that they'd provide lunch when it's lunchtime, and then the staff would sit next to you and eat. It was awful.
That just massively shocked. What do you think of that, Emily? Have you seen anything like that or heard of it? That's quite shocking, actually.
Yeah, there's definitely good pageants, and there are bad ones as well. And some disguise themselves as pageants. And like Hollie said, they turn out not to really be a pageant as such. I had an experience where I thought I was going into a glamorous pageant, and actually it was held in a really small kind of, almost like a seedy nightclub where you wouldn't really picture it. And it was just completely different to my first two experiences. So they're not all going to be the same, and you will have good ones and bad ones. And you can do as much research as you can, but then the truth is not often out there, because the directors themselves won't tell you all of those ins and outs. You don't really know what to fully expect until you're there. And at this pageant, I don't remember there being food or water. I'm just glad that I always take my own. My big advice to everyone is just make sure you've got food and water with you, because you don't really know when you're going to be seeing your next meal when you do these things sometimes. But luckily I haven't seen too much of it, but certainly you can get good and bad.
So I suppose that's basically, for anyone out there looking to either themselves do pageants or put their children in especially, is just do your research and maybe contact one of you or someone who has been involved in, just to get a little bit of insight maybe into whether it's a legitimate thing and it's something that's going to be a positive experience rather than something that's going to be negative, I suppose.
For me, I would now, knowing what I know, if I was going to do another pageant, I would find somebody that's previously done it and message them directly, not a winner, not just somebody who's been there and done it, so they can tell me firsthand what it was actually like. Because I did search the internet when I did the Italy pageant and nothing came up that was bad. However, since then, I've seen lots of posts from the girls that done it the year that I done it, and there's lots of negative things on there now. We had a girl collapse on the stage because she hadn't eaten, and they dragged her off, and when we came off from the final she was still laying on the floor. And there was no first aid. They didn't really know what to do with her, and she just laid on the floor whilst they sort of stood around her, and in the end I walked out and I left and I went and got on the coach with my husband and my mum, and I refused to get onto the contestants coach. And when I looked around, there was loads of other girls that had done the same. Switzerland was on there. There were so many of them all sitting in their seats hiding with their parents because they were all terrified to go get on the contestants coach. So I definitely say, like, you need to message somebody who's done it so that you can hear firsthand what it's actually like.
You don't think there's going to be so dangerous entering something like that? I suppose when you go, abroad, it's quite scary as it is, especially with these girls, women went on their own as well. Did everyone have family and stuff with them?
Yeah, there was some really young girls that had nobody with them as well, and girls were breaking down and crying constantly. When we first signed up to it, we were told that we would get loads of free things. So we were sponsored by La Liga Sportswear, we were sponsored by Capri Sun Gold sunglasses, and we were told that you'd get all this stuff. So we were given coats and bags and sunglasses that were worth hundreds of pounds, 2 pairs of shoes, some really nice swimwear, which we had to wear for photo shoots. And then when we went to the final and we were standing on the stage and it was live on TV, they went round the back and they took everything that they'd given us. So when we came off the stage and we went back to our chairs numbered, all that was left on there was whatever was in your bag that actually belonged to you. So like my knickers were left on the chair, and like and that was it.
Not want them? No?
They literally took everything back. Like they literally took everything. They took people's phones and money that were in their coats and they didn't empty the pockets.
Wow, that's awful. Well, that's a shock. But I suppose it is a harsh lesson, and you can share that lesson with others, I suppose, is the positive you take from that.
That's exactly why I then ran my own pageant, to show that it doesn't need to be like that. And that was a really bad experience, but not all pageants are like that. It just happened that the first big one that I'd ever done was terrible. But it's made me a stronger person, and it's made me show to everybody else what pageants can really be like. And I think that Miss Norfolk, we gained a lot back pageant wise, and I think we've proved to a lot of people that it isn't what you think it is.
Definitely. Well, it's definitely opened my eyes anyway. So as we're getting sort of close to the hour, I just kind of wanted to see what your other than advice in terms of, make sure you know what pageant you're going into before you actually go into it, and seek some advice from people that are involved. Emily, what would be, have you got any other advice of anyone who you might be watching or watching on replay that kind of, have seen people involved in pageants and thought, I'd quite like to give it a go?
Yeah, if you're thinking about it, just go for it. Do your research into what system that you'd like to get yourself involved in, because they're all quite different and each pageant has its own style. Some pageants are more charity focused, where you'll actually pick a charity to raise money for and promote that as your platform. Others, you can sort of fundraise for charity and get involved in lots of different volunteering opportunities, but it won't be just one charity. And you'll have different sort of categories, and whatever your age, there will be a pageant for you. Whatever your shape, size, background, there'll be a pageant for you. Some of them have talent rounds where you'll get to sing or dance or do whatever your sort of talent is, and some of them don't have that. Some of them will have swimwear, some of them will have fashion instead, or sports instead. So just have a little look and see what you think you'd be comfortable doing. Start off with maybe a local one. Hollie's one would be a good one, and then maybe look at some others. And it's just a brilliant experience, and for me it really was life-changing, and it opened lots of doors on my presenting career for modelling. I've been able to network and meet so many amazing people, friends that hopefully I'll always be friends with. I would say 99% of women that take part will either do one again, or they'll they'll sort of treasure those memories forever. You really don't get many people that regret it, or that they feel bad about having done it. It's always just really confident building, and it's an amazing opportunity to do something different and do something new. You'll learn a lot about yourself as well, and I would just say to everyone, do it, go for it.
And what's next on the agenda for you then, Emily, in terms of pageant? Have you got one coming up, or are your eye on a certain one, or?
Actually, no. I wasn't going to do this pageant that I ended up winning. I was thinking that the previous one I did, as it was an international pageant in Jamaica, I sort of felt, well, I've done an international one now. That's it for me. That'll do. But of course, the pageant bug is very real, and I ended up doing this. But at the moment, there's nothing else that's really catching my eye. For me, I like to get involved with things if they really, if I can really kind of relate to them. They'll call me for a certain reason. So the curve pageants are all about body positivity, and it's about being curvier and feeling that you can still be accepted regardless of your size, and you are as beautiful as everyone else. So for me, I've got a connection with that. At the moment, nothing else is having that effect on me, but you never know. I won't rule it out.
Never say never, as it is.
Yeah, because I'll probably see another thing and be like, oh. But I have this pageant in October this year, where I will have to do all of my walks again. So I've got to get all my costumes sorted again, because you do like a final walk, and then I'll crown the new winner. And I'm also presenting British Beauty Curve in August as well. But yeah,
Awesome.
we'll see what comes.
And also a little plug, Emily is going to be one of our main speakers at the Her conference next year on March the 8th. So that's really exciting. You'll probably see loads of stuff on the Facebook group and whatnot about that anyway. But that's very exciting. So thank you for joining us. It will be an amazing day. Yeah, it's exciting. So thank you. Right, I'll just Hollie, any advice you would give that we haven't covered?
Not really. Other than your research, I would just say, just stay true to you and be yourself. Don't go into a pageant being somebody that you're not. Just go out there, walk, be you, and just let people accept you as you are. Because I wouldn't want to win a pageant knowing that I wasn't true to myself. So if you want to do swimwear, do swimwear. It doesn't matter your size. This is what I said to you girls. Like you messaged me and you were like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm doing swimwear, and it's just a confidence thing. It's brilliant. So
well, it proved, because I obviously never thought I would get anywhere, especially runner up. And when I found out, Louise is awesome, but when I found out I was only 2 points behind her and she is an absolute stunner, I was like, actually, there is hope for the big girl with a personality. And I think it is, a lot of people think, the word beauty pageant is all about, what's on the outside, but actually, from my experience and seeing, how beautiful you both are inside and out, it's kind of, it's all about your confidence and your persona and how you just strut your stuff and, that the person that you are as well, isn't it? So
it's much more than that. People always just think it's looks, but it's so much more than that.
Beauty radiates from the inside out. That's the way I see it. You can be beautiful on the outside, but it doesn't make you a pretty person inside. And so that's what I think most pageants are about. I've just been past a shoe.
Nice shoes there, Poppy. Finally, did you just want to plug your Hollie Pops pageant?
Yeah.
The conference and whatnot. So have a little plug there.
I'm I'm going to be doing a Miss Holly Pops. It's for 0 to 6, so it's like a little tiny pageant where they get to be princesses for the day. I'm so excited. And I've got some actual princesses coming along, and basically it's just a reason for the little ones to get dressed up and to look super cute, to get some pictures, to make some new friends. I really want to get things like a bouncy castle, but I don't know how well that will go with dresses. But it's just going to be a fun day for the little ones. Everyone gets a crown, everyone gets a sash, and everyone gets 2 outfits as well. So they'll get a little day outfit and they'll get a little evening outfit provided by Holly Pops, and then they get to catwalk. So they get all the pictures and they get to take everything away with them, and it's just something a little bit different and a little bit special, rather than it being like, oh, here's a pageant, I need to buy a dress, I need to spend this money, and I need to do this. And I just want to make it like a little princess day where they can just have fun, and it's not over the top, if that makes sense.
That sounds awesome. I wish I was 0 to 6. I think you should do one for adults too, because then I will be there on that bouncy. Emily's putting her thumbs up. She's like, yeah, I think that's the next project after this one. Holly is actually doing that for grown-ups, okay?
Oh, I think I definitely will do another pageant like we did in January, because it was so much fun.
And hard work.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and hard work, your family.
Yeah.
Your mum loved it too, and so did Simon, didn't they? Right, awesome. We've come up to the hour. Thank you so much both for joining us. It's really good to get a little insight, and actually, you know, as much as you know, there are some negative things around, like the whole beauty pageant industry, and that, I think there is so much empowerment that it can do for young women, and you know, whatever age they are, really. So because it's all about support and, you know, connection, and just all going out there and being absolutely fabulous, you know, no matter who you are. So that's just amazing. Thank you both so much. Just want to say the next chat show we'll be back to our usual time of 8 till 9 p.m. on a Monday evening. It will be the 18th of
It's fresh.
and we will be talking, is a little bit more of a downward topic than we've talked today. It's all about talking openly about anxiety and suicide. So it's going to be quite a heart-wrenching show. But we've got Pookie, who's a lady who did try and commit suicide, and a lady, Vicky, who has struggled for years and now is trying to promote you know, how to talk openly about anxiety, and actually you know, make sure that, you know, people who are suffering do talk about these things. So that will be on the 18th of June. So it's goodbye from me, and it's also goodbye from the ladies. Bye.